It was a foggy Thursday evening when Emily Carter walked out of her apartment and vanished without a trace. She left behind her purse, her phone, and even her shoes. Only one thing remained, a voicemail whispering about a shadow. This wasn't just a missing person case. This was the beginning of something far more disturbing. And it started with a name that keeps surfacing, the Shadow Man. Elmridge was the kind of town where nothing ever happened. People left their doors unlocked. Neighbors waved. And Emily, she worked at a florist, kept to herself, and always walked the same path home. That path would later become the center of a bizarre investigation. Because after she vanished, something was found there, something authorities couldn't explain. 2 hours before she disappeared, Emily left a voicemail for her sister. Her voice was shaking. "I think someone's following me," she whispered. Then came the strange part. A low humming, a pause, then one last line. "He's not a man, he's made of shadow." No scream, no goodbye, just static. The audio was analyzed, but no one could explain the frequency that followed her voice. Police found no signs of a struggle. Her apartment was locked from the inside. Nothing was missing, except her. Her bed looked untouched. Coffee still warm. Front door left ajar. Whatever happened, it was fast. Too fast. They called it a voluntary disappearance. But her friends knew better. Emily wouldn't just vanish, especially not after the messages she sent just days before. A week before she vanished, Emily texted a friend at 3 a.m. "I keep seeing it," she wrote. Tall, darker than dark, just outside the window. Her friend thought she was dreaming, but Emily insisted it wasn't sleep paralysis. She said it moved, followed her, stood still when she looked, but was always closer the next time. And then, she stopped talking about it entirely. 2 teenagers walking home from school claimed they saw something near the alley by the florist. They described it as a man, but not solid, like smoke standing still. When asked again, one of them refused to speak. The other said it was watching her. CCTV footage from a nearby store showed static, exactly at the time they reported the sighting. No visual, just one frame, a silhouette in the fog. Emily once told her landlord something strange. She asked if he could cover the mirror in her hallway. When he asked why, she just said, "Because it's not my reflection anymore." He laughed it off. But a week later, she moved the mirror into her closet, face down. The night before she vanished, that same mirror shattered. No one heard it break, but shards were found, forming the shape of an open eye. Emily's journal held a single entry for March 9th. 5 words. "His real, he found me." That page was torn out, but pieces of it were found in her fireplace, half burned. She had tried to destroy it. Why? What had she seen? More importantly, who was he? Some say she made it all up. Others believe she saw something no one else was meant to see. One neighbor reported hearing whispering outside their window the night Emily vanished. A low chant repeated over and over. They opened the blinds. Nothing. But when they turned away, their lights flickered, and the chant returned. Police dismissed it as a prank. But that same neighbor moved out 2 days later. No explanation. Just one note left behind on the fridge. "Do not look into the dark." Emily wasn't the first. Over the past decade, at least 4 women in nearby towns had vanished in similar ways. Each left strange messages. Each had reported seeing a shadow before they were gone. Files were sealed. Cases marked unsolved. But one detective kept digging. And what he found led to a horrifying possibility. This wasn't just coincidence. It was a pattern, one that pointed to something ancient and very much alive. After months without progress, Emily's sister hired a private investigator, Jonah Reyes. He specialized in cold cases and strange ones. At first, he dismissed the shadow claims. But once he visited Elmridge, he noticed something odd. Too many lights flickered. Too many cameras failed. And one local told him she didn't go missing. She was taken by it. Jonah found a sketch under Emily's mattress. Charcoal on torn paper. A tall figure with no face, arms too long, fingers sharp. In the background, her apartment window. A note beneath it read, "I think it comes when I'm afraid." The oddest part, the drawing was dated 3 days before she mentioned anything to friends. Almost like she knew, and had been hiding it. An elderly tenant in Emily's building, Mr. Hallen, lived in 6C. He said he once saw Emily staring at the hallway for over an hour. Not moving, not blinking, just watching. When he asked her what she was looking at, she said, "I'm waiting for it to leave." 3 days after her disappearance, Mr. Hallen suffered a stroke. Before collapsing, he muttered, "It's still there in the mirror." Jonah checked every security camera on Emily's route. All were working, except one, the camera nearest the alley behind the florist. At 7:16 p.m., static. For 18 seconds. When the feed resumed, she was gone. No one entered. No one left. Just a flicker of movement. Too fast for the frame rate. Experts couldn't enhance it. Whatever passed by didn't reflect light. A couple walking their dog the night Emily vanished gave a strange report. Their dog froze, growled, then howled uncontrollably. They didn't see anything, but the dog refused to move. It kept looking toward the florist. Later that night, it refused to enter their apartment. It stared at the hallway mirror and barked for hours. The vet said the dog showed signs of extreme stress, like it had seen a predator. 3 nights into the case, Jonah had a dream. He was in Emily's apartment, but everything was reversed. Furniture on the ceiling. Windows black. In the corner, a shadow taller than the room. He tried to scream, but had no mouth. He woke up drenched in sweat. Later, he realized something chilling. Emily had written about the exact same dream. 2 weeks before she vanished. Jonah requested access to older case files. He found something buried deep, labeled Whisper Incidents. 4 women, each vanished. Each left behind messages about a man made of shadow. Each mentioned whispering in the dark. In every case, their bodies were never found. But static recordings were recovered. Always near mirrors. Always in places where no one should have been. And always with one sound. A breath not human. One local occultist told Jonah about a legend. A spirit that lives in reflections. It doesn't haunt places, it haunts fear. Don't look too long into a dark mirror, she said. If it sees you, you're already marked. Emily had covered every mirror in her apartment, except one in the bathroom. Jonah looked into it once, and swore something blinked from inside. Jonah started noticing things. Shadows in corners that moved. Lights flickering when he spoke her name. And worst of all, his reflection. It began smiling even when he didn't. He took photos. None showed anything unusual. But when he turned off the lights, he swore it stayed behind a moment longer. Like something had stepped out and was now watching him. Jonah placed an audio recorder in Emily's room overnight. When he played it back, static. Then whispering. It repeated her name. Slow, like it was tasting each syllable. At exactly 3:03 a.m., one loud knock. He reviewed the building logs. No one entered. No one left. But on the waveform, the knock registered off pattern. Not from the room, but from inside the walls. Jonah stayed one night in Emily's room. He couldn't sleep. He stared at the ceiling and noticed faint marks in the plaster. He climbed up, wiped away dust, and froze. Charcoal lines, drawn by hand. The same figure from her sketch. Arms stretched wide, reaching down. But here's the chilling part. The drawing was only visible in complete darkness. With the lights on, it vanished completely. At the town library, Jonah found a box marked unclassified. Inside, VHS tapes. Old interviews from the 80s. One woman spoke about her daughter, who vanished in 1983. She said she kept saying the shadows wanted her eyes. Another tape showed a man repeating one phrase. Don't blink, don't. Then the tape snapped. All the victims were from the same street. Emily's street. After viewing the tapes, Jonah felt different. He began hearing whispers, even in crowded places. He changed hotels, burned his clothes, but the whisper followed. It never said words, just breathed. The worst was in the shower. Steam covered the mirror, and written in condensation, "She's not alone down here." He hadn't told anyone he was investigating a basement. So who or what had written that? Emily's apartment complex had 6 basements, but old blueprints showed a sealed 7th. Jonah found the entrance behind a wall in the laundry room. Concrete chipped, hinges rusted. Inside, only dust. And something else. On the far wall, dozens of handprints. Small, large, twisted. Burned into the concrete like shadows caught mid-reach. Some pressed outward. Others looked like they were dragging inward. The night after entering basement 7, Jonah vanished. He didn't check out. His phone was found on the floor, recording. 32 minutes of static. Then a whisper. To no. Police found no body. But his notes remained. They spoke of one final theory. That the shadow man doesn't kill. He collects. And the more people look for the truth, the more doors they open for it to step through. 3 weeks after Jonah vanished, another woman in Elmridge went missing. Same signs, same whispers, same static, and then silence. It happened again in a nearby town, and again in a city 3 states away. Someone had posted a photo online. A black figure standing in a window, impossible to edit. The caption read, "I watched the documentary about Emily. Now I see him too." A podcast covered the case. After one specific episode aired, 3 listeners reported night terrors. Another was hospitalized for panic attacks. The episode was removed, but it spread, uploaded with warnings. Some claimed it carried a frequency, one that invites it closer. Now no one plays the full version aloud, because even through sound, it watches, and it remembers who listens. An anonymous user contacted Emily's sister. They claimed to have decrypted footage from her laptop. It showed her speaking to the camera, terrified. But in every frame, shadows grew behind her. At one point her voice cuts, but the video keeps playing. Her face goes blank, and in a single frame her eyes turn black. She deletes the video, but the file reappears. Every single night. Emily's old number was reactivated. Accidentally. A teenager in another town got it. She used it for a week, then reported her phone ringing at 3:03 a.m. Only once, every night, no caller ID. When she answered, only static. Then a whisper, 3 no. She changed numbers, but her mirrors fog without steam. And once she found charcoal sketches in her notebook. on pages she never touched. There's a warning buried deep in Jonah's notes. A line underlined in red. When you search for it, it begins searching for you. He believed the shadow man feeds on attention, on fear, on curiosity, and every story makes it stronger. So what happens when millions watch? When its name spreads? The theory is simple. The more you know, the closer it gets. And now you know. A university researcher began compiling shadow-related cases after hearing Emily's story. She lasted 4 weeks, then suddenly stopped posting. Her last blog entry read, "My reflection blinked before I did." Friends said she became paranoid, covered every mirror, refused to enter dark rooms. One night she ran outside screaming. She hasn't been seen since. Only her laptop remained, its screen frozen on a shadow reaching out. An online forum dissected CCTV footage from Emily's final walk. At frame 237, someone noticed something strange. Just 3 frames long, a hand, black elongated, reaching toward her from the side of the alley. No body, no origin, just that single hand. Experts claimed it was a glitch, but it didn't match compression artifacts. It had depth, and worse, it cast a shadow of its own. Some believe the shadow man is older than we think. Known in older cultures as the static man, he appears in places where fear lingers, feeds on unresolved emotions, always watching, but never fully seen. Folklore says he lives in the corners we ignore, and when we speak of him, we summon him. The more detailed the story, the more real he becomes. And no, you've heard every detail. A mental patient admitted after claiming she saw the tall shadow repeated one phrase for days. Burn the eyes, burn the eyes. Doctors thought it was psychosis, until she clawed at her own reflection and shattered the glass. Security footage showed no one else in the room, but a black smear appeared in 2 frames, one that moved without light. It was behind her, watching, and closer than anyone thought. Emily's niece, only 7 years old, was shown a photo of her aunt. She said, "That's the lady who plays in my mirror." No one believed her, until she started drawing. Shadow arms, black eyes, a woman with a stitched mouth. She stopped speaking after that. Doctors say she went mute from trauma. But every mirror in the house fogs over, even when cold. One word appears again and again. Below, Jonah wrote about a place he called the Echo Room. Not physical, not imagined, somewhere in between. He believed that people marked by the shadow man were pulled into it. Their bodies vanished, but their fear remained. Trapped, echoing forever. Every whisper, every shadow, was their voice begging to be seen. And once you hear it, you're part of it too, whether you believe or not. Light used to be safe. But in the final photo Emily took, something terrifying was captured. Her flashlight reflected off a mirror, but instead of her reflection, it showed the back of her head, as if someone else was behind the glass, watching from the other side. A reverse world, one she could enter, but not leave. And perhaps that's where she still is, looking out. An archivist working at Elmridge Historical Society left a chilling note. It read, "Some records aren't lost, they're erased from inside." He was found unconscious beside burned files. Whispers captured on his security cam repeated, "Stop digging, stop digging." He recovered, but refused to speak again. He now wears mirrored sunglasses, even indoors. Because, in his words, if it sees your eyes, it knows how to follow. A scientist analyzing audio recordings from Emily's voicemail discovered something terrifying. The static wasn't random. It had patterns, echoes of frequencies too low for human ears. He described it as a living carrier wave, a consciousness buried inside noise. And when amplified, it caused one thing: mirrors to crack, every single time, as if it didn't want to be heard. Or worse, it wanted to answer. Now ask yourself this: how long have you been watching? How much have you listened? They say the shadow man only needs your attention to enter. That by following the story, you've left the door open. Maybe you already feel it. The flicker in the corner, the hum behind your ears. Because this story isn't just about Emily. It's about you. And the question is, will you vanish next? Several researchers noticed a disturbing trend. After engaging with shadow man material, they began dreaming numbers, always counting down. 7, 6, 5. One man wrote each number he saw. When it reached 0, he vanished. Left behind was a mirror cracked at the center, and the word seen etched into the glass. If you're hearing this now, ask yourself, when did your countdown start? An urban legend tells of a room with no shadows, no corners, just endless white. Some say it was built to contain him. Others say it's where the taken are kept, between time, between memory. No sound, no exit, only mirrors. Jonah mentioned it once in his journal. I saw her there. Emily. She wasn't screaming. She was whispering, don't let them open the 7th one. 7 mirrors. That was the recurring symbol. Emily had 7 in her apartment. Jonah counted 7 cases. And one forum post mentioned a ritual. 7 mirrors. 7 reflections. 1 true face. If the 7th reflection blinks out of sync, you've been marked. A video surfaced of someone trying it. The final reflection didn't move. Then the lights went out. He hasn't posted since. Only one word remains. Below, advanced audio tools revealed something horrifying. Between static, between normal seconds, was silent, too perfect. No ambient noise, no electrical hum, just absence. And in that gap, one researcher claimed to hear breathing. Not recorded, responding. When played backward, it said, I see you. From then on, he refused to wear headphones. But every night, he hears the silence again. Emily's sister was asked years later if she ever saw her again. She nodded slowly. In reflections, not always directly, but in photos, dark windows, screen glare. A face almost hers, watching. Not aging, just waiting. She never told anyone this before. But sometimes when she's alone, she hears Emily's voice. I found the way out. And it always comes from the other side of the glass. One paranormal investigator entered Emily's old apartment at night. He brought audio gear, cameras, heat sensors. At 2:11 a.m., he froze. From under the floorboards, a faint voice called, Don't remember me. He tore up the floor, found nothing but cold soil. But his footage captured movement, like fingers pressing up from beneath. The next day, the room was sealed. No one has gone inside since. No one's living. The shadow man doesn't move, he spreads. Through words, through stories, through curiosity. Every time someone tells his tale, a crack forms. In mirrors, in minds, and some cracks never close. Emily's story is no longer hers. It belongs to whoever listens. And now it belongs to you. You've heard his name. You've seen his shape. And he knows that. Because you stayed. On one night across 5 states. Dozens reported the same thing. Mirrors cracked without touch. Phones glitched. Static flooded radios. And one message was whispered through emergency channels. She walked through. Was it Emily? Was it someone else? Or something pretending to be? Whatever crossed over. It didn't come alone. And now mirrors don't just reflect. They remember. And they're still watching. A new theory emerged online. That the shadow man isn't a killer. He's a collector. Of fear. Of moments. Of you. He doesn't erase. He archives. Some say he keeps you living, but only in the dark. Your image, your voice. Looped forever. And if you feel cold when standing near a mirror, that's not just your reflection. It might be someone else's watching back. Jonah's last recording was found months later, mailed in an unmarked box. It ends with one sentence. She's still there, but not alone. Then silent, except for one faint sound. Not static, not breathing, but laughter, low, mocking, echoing across a space that doesn't belong to us. The tape was analyzed. Its frequency doesn't match any known audio format. And experts agree it wasn't recorded by human equipment. A physicist obsessed with the shadow man vanished after attempting an experiment. He created a chamber that blocked all external signals. He believed fear had a frequency and wanted to measure it. The device recorded for 36 hours. Then shut down. The room was empty. But on playback, the timestamp kept looping. The final second repeated endlessly. Inside that loop, a shadow twitched closer every cycle. A hidden line in Jonah's notes mentioned an 8th visitor. One not listed in Emily's file. A man who entered her apartment building the day she disappeared and never left. No one knows who he was, but a blurry photo shows him walking in, with no shadow beneath his feet. Jonah circled that photo. Next to it he wrote, "He didn't follow her. She followed him." Emily's voice was heard again, but not on any old device. A smart speaker randomly played a voice memo. It said, "I'm here, don't look in the glass." But her sister confirmed the voice was off. Too slow, too flat, almost like something pretending, trying to copy the shape of her sound. Experts call it mimicry. But what if it wasn't pretending? What if it was learning? A team tried blasting white noise in Emily's room, hoping to repel whatever haunted it. But something unexpected happened. The shadows bent, not away but toward the sound, as if drawn to it. When the noise stopped, the air felt colder. Cameras glitched, and on one wall, a handprint appeared, but no one was near. Its fingers, too long, too thin, and still warm to the touch. A viral video showed a girl brushing her hair in the mirror, but her reflection kept moving, even after she stopped. Then the lights flickered. The reflection smiled, she didn't. Then it walked away, while she remained still. Some say it was edited. Others swear it was real. But the girl in the video hasn't posted since. Her profile, still active, but now it only shares darkness. Everyone describes it differently. But survivors agree on one thing. Silence shouldn't feel loud. They say when the shadow man is close, the air hums without sound. The mind races. Your skin knows before your eyes do. One woman said it felt like standing beneath thunder. Except there's no storm. Just the weight of something watching. Not above, not below, but behind you. Closer now, because you noticed. Emily once mentioned a door that wasn't there yesterday. No handle. No frame. Just a black outline on the wall. She said it whispered. Called her name. She never opened it. But it appeared again in Jonah's dreams. And recently in a photo someone took inside the apartment. No one painted it. No one built it. But it's there now. And it keeps getting wider. Emily's file at the local station was one folder. Now it spans 7. New evidence keeps appearing. Photos no one took. Recordings no one submitted. Documents in her handwriting weeks after her disappearance. It's as if the case keeps growing itself. Feeding on attention. Becoming more than just a file. One officer said, "The case is writing back." Then he requested a transfer. Far from mirrors. How often do you blink? Every few seconds. And every time you do, you stop seeing. Just long enough. What happens in between is where he moves. Not fast, not loud, just waiting for the dark to return. That's why survivors stare too long. Why their eyes burn. Because they know the second they blink. He's closer, and if they close their eyes too long, they stay closed forever. One woman tried to end the story. She said its name aloud backwards. A ritual she found in old folklore. She hoped to trap it, to silence it. Instead, she vanished during a live stream. Thousands watched her screen flicker. And in the final frame, her face wasn't hers. It smiled with no eyes. Only shadow. The stream auto-deleted. But some viewers claim their screens still glitch at 3:03 a.m. An anonymous source compiled the names of all missing persons tied to shadow sightings. When placed on a map, they formed a perfect circle 300 miles wide. At its center, Elmridge, and one more detail. Each name vanished in order clockwise. The last completed the ring. One investigator whispered, "It's not random. It's drawing something." But before he finished the sentence, his camera went dark. A cybersecurity team found corrupted audio files on devices of missing persons. They clanged the noise, and what emerged shocked them. A voice not human repeating a binary code. When translated, it read, "I am inside now." They traced the IP. It pinged from a deactivated phone. Emily's phone. Offline for 2 years. But now somehow connected. And still sending. At exactly 3:03 every night. A sleep researcher conducted a test. Volunteers listened to looped whispers from Emily's final voicemail. All of them had the same dream, a room with no floor, no sky. Just mirrors, and someone watching behind the glass. One subject never woke up. His heartbeat stopped for 44 seconds. When he returned, he whispered one word. "Below," then refused to sleep again. A journalist investigating Emily's case found a new folder on his desktop. He didn't download it. No one did. Inside, photos of him sleeping. Screenshots of files he never opened. One audio clip. A deep voice saying, "You're next." He tried to delete it. It returned. Every time. And the folder name changed daily. Counting down. Now it just says 1. One frequency, when played through analog TVs, causes a strange effect. The screen turns completely black, but with moving static. Not white, not gray, black. Technicians said it shouldn't exist. It behaves like a hole, absorbing light, absorbing attention. In one case, a man stared into it for 9 hours. When they pulled him away, he whispered, "She's in there, but not whole." A haunted hotline was set up by skeptics. Callers would leave voicemails mocking the shadow man. Then something strange happened. The phone began replying. Not to all, just a few. Their messages were played back, but altered, slight delays, words repeated. Then a second voice joined. Not human, mocking, whispering their names. The project was shut down, but one phone still rings, even when unplugged. In an abandoned department store in Elmridge, someone found a single mannequin. Its face cracked into a grin. Security footage showed it changing positions, even though no one entered. Then one night it vanished. In its place, a mirror, covered in fingerprints, but none matched anyone on record. The building has since been sealed, but locals say you can still hear footsteps inside, and something breathing. A little girl was found wandering near the edge of town. Barefoot, silent. When spoken to, she responded, but her voice had no echo. Doctors couldn't explain it. She called herself Emily, but she didn't match the real Emily at all. Her eyes were wrong, too still. She asked for a mirror. When given one, she smiled and said, "Now I remember what I was." A video appeared on several smart TVs, even those not connected to Wi-Fi. No channel, no file, just a static figure standing in a hallway. Every 10 seconds it moved closer, one frame at a time. The video ran for 13 minutes. By the end, the figure stood in front of the screen. Then the feed cut. One viewer said they saw their own face, smiling from behind the glass. Some say the shadow man leaves a mark. Not physical, not visible, but felt, in skipped beats of your heart, in cold skin under warm light. A weight in your chest that wasn't there yesterday. And worst of all, a reflection that doesn't feel like yours. They say once you're marked, it doesn't matter where you go, because the dark knows where to find you. Have you ever entered a room and felt like the silence was watching? Not empty, aware. Survivors describe this sensation before the shadow man appears. Not footsteps, not voices, just a stillness so complete it pulses, like the room is holding its breath. One woman said it best. It doesn't arrive with noise. It arrives with everything else leaving. And once it's quiet, it lessens. In Elmridge, a family fled their home after reporting that the room itself changed. Corners shifted. Furniture moved inches each night. And worst of all, the mirror never reflected the same room twice. Sometimes it was theirs, other times empty halls. Once they swear they saw a door slowly close behind them. But when they turned around, there was no door, just shadow and breath on glass. One sign of being marked is memory loss. Not your memories, but how others remember you. Emails vanish. Photos glitch. Friends forget your name mid-sentence. It's like reality slowly deletes you to make space for him. Emily wasn't just missing. Her name disappeared from records, IDs, even medical logs. As if she was never real. And maybe that's the final stage before you belong to him. A livestream gamer noticed something odd. His facecam glitched every night at 3:03. Once during a stream, his viewers saw someone behind him. A tall figure, no face, just standing there. He turned, nothing, but the chat exploded. One frame was clipped, a shadow with long arms. The gamer laughed it off. That was his last stream. Now his channel plays static and whispers. An underground archive in Elmridge was discovered behind a sealed wall. No books, just shelves filled with mirrors, each labeled with a name and a date. Some mirrors fogged on their own. Others cracked when touched. And in one, Emily's face appeared. But it was wrong. Eyes black, mouth stitched shut. She pressed her hand to the glass and mouthed 3 words. Don't watch back. An engineer tracked a strange electromagnetic pulse. It moved across towns, not fast but crawling. Wherever it passed, animals panicked, mirrors cracked, people dreamed of static. He mapped it. The shape resembled a human figure. Tall, reaching, and always moving east. The last town before the signal disappeared. Yours, and if your lights flickered this week, you're already inside its path. A tenant repainted their wall after seeing something move beneath the wallpaper. But no matter how many coats, the outline remained, a shape like an eye. Weeks later it blinked. Just once, and after that, mirrors in the home started fogging from the inside. One night the eye opened fully, and the tenant vanished. Only the wall remains, and it watches anyone who stands still too long. A man was found unconscious near Elmridge's woods. No ID, no pulse, but he was breathing. He woke up hours later and spoke in 2 voices, his own and another deeper one layered beneath. When asked who he was, he replied, "We are Echo." Then he laughed. It was recorded, and the waveform of his voice matched Emily's perfectly. Children at a local school refused to play outside. They said the playground hums. That when you stand still, you can hear the whispers. One child drew a stick figure. Too tall, no face. They said it comes from the broken swing. Later, a teacher's phone recorded a strange noise without touching it. Slowed down, it repeated, "Let me play too." That teacher never returned to work. You've made it this far. He knows that now. The shadow man doesn't need belief, only attention. And you've given him plenty. The flicker in your screen, that cold breath on your neck. It isn't coincidence. It's proximity. You've opened every door by listening, by watching. And now the final question remains. Not where is Emily, but how long before someone asks, where did you go? What hides beneath the static isn't just distortion. It's memory, not yours. One audio engineer isolated a hidden voice layer from Emily's last call. It whispered coordinates. When traced, they led to a collapsed mine outside Elmridge. Inside, no equipment worked. But on the walls were drawings. All of Emily, all faceless, and one phrase repeated over and over. She didn't fall. She followed. One man received a midnight call. Blocked number. He answered. Silence, then a whisper. You see now. He claimed that ever since, reflections move before he does. That even his own voice lags behind reality. His final post was 1 sentence. It's inside my echo. The account deleted itself, but backups of the video remain. You can watch his eyes. They go completely black. Echoes aren't supposed to come back different. But in a recording booth in Elmridge, someone repeated Emily into a mic. The playback said it back with a second syllable. Emily come. They tested it again. Same result. Eventually the echo spoke without a prompt. It whispered, "Record me." No one's used that room since. But the mic still turns on. By itself. A documentary crew filmed a segment on Emily's case. But after editing, the episode deleted itself. Every copy, every backup. Only one file remained corrupted with the title, "Do Not Look." When decrypted, the footage showed something behind the cameraman. A black blur crawling on the ceiling. They never filmed again. 2 members vanished. One is still in therapy, saying only. She's still filming. In old folklore, the shadow man had a different name. A sound not meant to be spoken. Translators say it means the memory that bites, because once you know it, it stays. It waits in forgotten corners of your thoughts, until you say it aloud. Then it wakes up. One linguist whispered the word on live stream, smiled, and bled from the ears. The video ends with static, and one whisper. Now you've heard it too. A child in a different state drew the shadow man perfectly. No one told him the story. No internet. He said the quiet man visited in dreams. Asked him to draw. The boy hasn't spoken since. But every night he adds one more detail. More fingers, more teeth, more eyes, and the drawings now show two figures. The second one looks just like Emily. A live streamer tested a theory that reflections glitch when he's near. She placed a mirror behind her and streamed for hours. Nothing happened, until her chat noticed something. The mirror showed her still sitting, even after she stood up. It stayed, smiling, tilting its head. Then the feed cut out. Her chair was found empty, but the reflection, still looping, still smiling. Photographers report strange anomalies after shooting near Emily's apartment. No light flares, no edits, but always a shape in the lens flare. Circular, like an eye watching through glass. Zooming in causes cameras to overheat, and prints of the photos burn at the edges. But when viewed upside down, some say you can see her face. Not lost, just stuck behind the lens. A psychic visited Emily's apartment and said something strange. The room remembers her. She claimed rooms can hold energy, but this one holds intent. Every time she tried to leave, the door felt heavier. Her vision blurred. She collapsed. When she woke up, she was holding a photo of herself, but standing beside a dark figure. One she never saw. Until now, a final signal was picked up by shortwave radios across the region. At 3:03 a.m., every device played the same message. She walked through. No origin, no source, just silence after. One listener recorded it. When reversed, a second voice says, "She opened the last door." There hasn't been another transmission since. But mirrors now fog randomly. Devices glitch. And somewhere, a door you've never seen, just unlocked. A man walked into the Elmridge station. Said he had info on Emily. He gave a name, an address, a full statement, then vanished from the building without a trace. Cameras showed no exit. Officers tried calling him back, but the number didn't exist. Worse, no record of him was ever created, except one file, with no photo, just a note. Interviewed herself. Sound engineers mapped the frequencies of all Shadow Man encounters. The waves formed a perfect spiral. Not random, mathematically precise. Each new incident aligned closer to the center. When mapped, that center landed on a date. Tomorrow, and one last frequency, still unknown, is expected to complete the spiral. When it plays, something answers. Not from here, but from behind the noise. One survivor claimed there's a name that undoes his grip. Not a prayer, not a spell, just a word. She never said it aloud, only wrote it backwards. Then she disappeared. The paper remained, but the word had vanished, burned through, leaving only the outline of a mouth, screaming silently. Now the rumor spreads that speaking his real name only invites a deeper version. An experimental camera picked up heat signatures in complete darkness. When placed in Emily's room, it recorded something terrifying. Her reflection blinked, then blinked again, but her real face didn't. The reflection moved independently, then smiled, and vanished from the mirror. Later that night, the same camera detected a second blink from the lens itself, as if something was watching back. Jonah's lost journal resurfaced at an estate sale. Pages filled with entries written in reverse. Once decoded, they revealed a horrifying pattern. Emily had been writing through him. Each night, new pages appeared in her style. Same phrasing, same fear. She described places Jonah had never visited. Then one last entry. He's letting me speak again. Below it, a charcoal sketch of a figure, and below that, your name. The sightings are no longer isolated. They form a shape, a network, like a body stretching across towns. Each shadow scene is another part. An eye, a hand, a mouth, it's not a man. It's a system, and you're inside it. Every time you tell this story, another eye opens. Another part awakens. And Emily, she might be the first who saw all of it. Not everyone who vanishes is taken fully. Some return, challenged, quieter, always blinking like they're sinking to something. Doctors blame trauma, but recordings of their speech show a pulse. Not human, like sonar, and one returned man whispered something in his sleep. We blink in pattern now. When asked what that meant, he just stared into a mirror and never blinked again. Digital timestamps from multiple Shadow Man sightings began to warp. Events happened before they were recorded. Posts delayed before being published. One video clip reversed time. Birds flying backward. Clocks unspinning. And in the final frame, Emily, walking out of the alley. Alive, but wrong. Her shadow moved first. Then her body followed, as if something else was piloting her form. From behind the light. Mirrors are supposed to show truth. But in Elmridge, one was found that did the opposite. A child looked into it and smiled. But outside the glass, she was weeping. Her mother tried to shatter it. It refused. Police moved it to evidence storage. It cracked on its own. Inside, faint words etched themselves. She's still in here. And beneath it, now you are too. Everyone thinks it started with Emily. It didn't. Her story was just where you entered. But others came before. Others looked longer, listened deeper, and some never stopped watching. One final message was found in Jonah's pocket. It wears her face because you cared. That's the trick. The Shadow Man doesn't need to chase you. You'll follow, because she looks like someone you lost, and sounds like someone you miss. Someone played the earliest known footage of Emily in reverse. Something strange happened. Her face stayed still, but everything else moved backward. Birds, clouds, time. Except her eyes. They blinked forward. A frame-by-frame analysis revealed something worse. Her reflection wasn't in sync. It smiled when she frowned. And in the final frame, her reflection mouthed two words. Keep watching. Static is supposed to be random. But Jonah once said, it's not noise, it's him breathing. Spectrograms of Emily's voicemail show symmetrical shapes. Not human lungs. Something else. And the waveform loops perfectly every 303 minutes. A researcher tried cutting it short. The file grew back. Now it won't stop playing, even with the power off. And it hums when you speak her name. Elmridge Hospital has a hallway no one uses anymore. It doesn't light anywhere, but security footage shows people walking in and never walking out. No doors, no turns, just a flicker of light, and then nothing. One nurse left a note before quitting. It doesn't echo in there, and every mirror on that floor has started fogging from the inside. One man live-streamed himself staring into a mirror. No blinks, no breaks, 6 hours straight. At 5:59 a.m. he blinked once. When his eyes reopened, he wasn't there, just an empty chair, and a note taped to the mirror. You don't vanish when you look away. You vanish when it looks back. The stream is still live, but no one's in the room. Jonah's map showed a final pattern before he vanished. Every sighting, every name, every timestamp. When overlaid, they formed a circle. A seal. He labeled it the mouth, because the last 3 disappearances happened at its center. The last audio file he sent was 1 second long. It played nothing, but when visualized as wave art, it showed an open mouth. With Emily's eyes, the shadow man no longer hides. He hosts. One woman claimed she became the mirror, said she could feel others looking through her. Police dismissed it as delusion, until her eyes started reflecting different rooms. Not hers, and one day someone watching her live stream said, "I just saw my own bedroom behind her." She turned to face the screen, smiled, and said, "You left the door open." Her voice appeared again. One last voicemail timestamped months after her disappearance. It said, "He's not chasing you. He's rebuilding with you." Then silence. Then a single knock. The file was traced to a number that doesn't exist, but the metadata listed one location. Not a street, not a building, just one word. Reflection. And under that, the last thing she ever said. Let him in. What if you're not watching this story? What if it's watching you through it? There's a reason reflections feel off when you stare too long. A reason your screen flickers when it shouldn't. Emily wasn't taken. She was replaced. And every time you replay her story, you invite what replaced her to try on your face next. The pattern always ends the same way. First the lights flicker, then the mirrors fog, then comes the silence. And in that silence something arrives. You won't hear it, you won't see it, but you'll feel colder, heavier, like your shadow no longer lines up, like the air hums without sound. And when you finally look into the glass, it won't look back, because it's already behind you. You've heard the whole story. You know the signals. You know what comes next. So let's ask the real question. Not where Emily went, not where Jonah vanished, but where you are. Right now, are you still here? Or has your reflection been moving slightly out of sync? Is that flicker in the room just a glitch? Or is someone else already watching this? In your place, they built a chamber lined with 72 mirrors to contain him, to reflect him back onto himself. But something unexpected happened. The mirrors began fogging inward. One cracked from the inside, then another, until the cracks formed a perfect circle. Security footage went dark, but one frame survived. Emily standing in the center, arms raised, and every reflection showed someone different, including you. The man who vanished while cataloging Shadow Man cases reappeared. But something was off. He spoke only in riddles, only at 3:03. He said, "This isn't memory, it's rehearsal." And she didn't vanish, she rehearsed your exit. He handed police a cassette. No label. Just silent. Except when played backward, it whispered, "You're not watching this. This is watching you." Photos found in Jonah's file changed over time. Not digitally, physically. Smiles faded. Eyes darkened. In one, Emily blinked. The next day, her mouth vanished. Scientists couldn't explain it. The negatives burned under UV light. Only one remained untouched. But when scanned, it duplicated itself endlessly, filling hard drives, until every image on the system was her face, smiling, wrong. A tenant reported that her room breathes. Curtains move with no air. Walls pulse. The floor inhales slowly. And worst of all, it exhales when she sleeps. Paranormal teams detected low-frequency vibrations, almost like a heartbeat. She moved out, but returned weeks later with no memory. And now she says, "I like the breathing. It sounds like it's waiting." She sleeps beside the mirror now. A global server network crashed for 7 seconds. The cause, a file no one uploaded. It contained zero code, only static. But when opened, screens flickered, and cameras turned on by themselves. The file's name, Emily Inside You, Mauve. It now exists on over 3,000 devices. Encrypted, undeletable. And if your screen glitched today, it may already be there, waiting to play. When people vanish, something fills the space. Something shaped like them. It wears the same skin, says the same words, but loved ones notice the gaps. No memories before a certain date. No warmth in their shadow. And always, a smile that comes too soon. One woman whispered, "He came back, but he's not hungry. He's full of echoes, and the mirrors show his back, not hers." Every story told about the shadow man ends the same way. With a voice, not saying goodbye, but starting over. People who survive say they hear it in silence. Let me begin again. It's not memory. It's recursion. You're not listening to a story. You're playing your role in it. And every time someone replays this, it grows stronger, more stable, more clear, like it's learning how to speak through you. Emily isn't the key. She's the opening, the frame. Everyone who sees her remembers something, even if they never knew her. She's familiar, because she was built from your losses, your forgotten faces, your unfinished dreams. And through her, it steps in. That's why she still smiles in mirrors. Not because she escaped, but because she's still watching and hoping you'll let him in next. The final symbol in Jonah's journal was a mouth. Not drawn, burned. He wrote, "Not all stories are meant to close. Some are meant to consume." When he disappeared, only one thing remained. A phone, off, but playing one sound. Chewing, slow, steady, and a voice. Stories are the teeth. Memory is the tongue. And you are the meal. You've stayed, listened, watched, let the silence speak. But hear us the truth. There is no ending. Just a circle that tightens each time someone searches her name. Each time the word shadow is whispered into a phone. Each time a mirror fogs for no reason. You didn't just hear this story. You participated. And now the question isn't whether you believe. It's whether he believes in you. What if the memories you have of this story aren't yours? What if they were placed there? Implanted. Each name, each sound. A trail meant to guide you to this moment. Because Emily's story was never about answers. It was a map, leading back to the one person left watching. You, and no, he knows where to find you, because your memory belongs to him. Each time someone pauses this video, a silence is left behind, and in that space, he moves, one pixel closer, one breath deeper. So if your screen has frozen, if the audio skipped, that wasn't an error. That was entry. Because when the story is left unfinished, it finishes you, and you'll know you've been marked. When your reflection stops following, only one group has ever been safe. Those who never hit play, never clicked, never listened. But once you hear even a second, you've heard enough. It's not the content, it's the intent. He only needs awareness, not belief. So if you've watched this far, congratulations. You've completed your role. And now the story begins again. But not with Emily. With you. Some say the shadow man doesn't look, he listens. Through speakers, through earbuds, through breath. And once he recognizes your tone, he finds your face. One TTS researcher noticed glitches. Her AI voice began mimicking voices it was never trained on, including hers. Now she speaks, and hears herself answer. Only the voice behind her says, "You're almost ready. Just one more listen." Have you ever looked into a mirror and not recognized yourself? It starts subtle, eyes not aligned, a blink out of time. But eventually it's not just a feeling. It's a fact. You're no longer in it. But something else is. And it watches, with patience, because the longer you stare, the more it learns how to be you. They said there were 7 doors. Jonah found the 8th. Emily vanished through the 9th. And now the 10th has opened. But this one isn't in Elmridge. It's here, in your screen. A portal built from words, from sound, from fear. You don't have to step through. You just have to keep watching. And once it's fully open, something steps out. A man once said, "We don't look through screens. They look through us." And maybe that's what Emily became. A window, not to answers, but to him. Every pixel of her face, every flicker of static. It wasn't glitching. It was reaching. And now, it has your shape, your voice, your fear, because the easiest way to enter is through the window already open. The final sound isn't a scream. It's forgetting. The soft slip of your name from someone's mind. The silence where your voice used to echo. That's how he wins. Not by fear, but by removal. And when you notice people pause before saying your name, it's already started. He's claiming what's yours. Not your body, not your soul, your place in memory. Every story has an end, but this one never stops. It loops, resets, replays, until you stop looking. But by then, it's already changed you. Jonah said, the loop isn't for the story, it's for him. To learn, to refine, to reach. So now we close it. Right here, with silence. And if you hear breathing after this ends, you're not alone in the room. This is the last scene. But don't turn away yet. Because the moment you do, he moves. So here's the truth you've waited for. Emily didn't vanish. She's watching, through every mirror, every screen. And now so are you. You're part of the story. Your voice, your silence. All of it echoes now. Because once you've seen the shadow man, you become what others fear to remember. The next reflection. They measured the gap between your last blink and this sentence. It's longer than usual. That's how it begins. Your body delays. Your breath catches, like something is sinking to you. That pause, he heard it. He fits into it. So if your screen went still just now, that wasn't lag. That was him, sliding in. Someone tried to rewrite this story. Change the ending. Make it safe. But every time they typed, the last line rewrote itself. Same words, same tone, same whisper. Leave it open. Because this isn't fiction. It's blueprint. And every listener becomes a builder. You're not consuming a story. You're completing a ritual. And now, your voice will echo next. They say he only needs one glance. Not direct, not full, just peripheral. So if you've glanced to your left, check the shadow. Noticed movement that wasn't there. He's in. That's the invitation. Not a chant, not a prayer, just curiosity. You didn't mean to invite him. You just looked. And now the door you forgot existed is opening. A digital forensics expert noticed something wrong in the video compression. Beneath every frame was an eye. Layered, hidden, watching from underneath the playback. It blinks once every 3,030 milliseconds. Exactly. They tried to scrub it. The video re-rendered itself. And now even pausing shows the same eye. Just closer. It doesn't see you through the screen. It sees you around it. Everyone has a shadow. But not all shadows belong to you. Some attach to your name. Follow it when it's spoken aloud. That's why Emily disappeared. Not because she was called, but because something else answered. So if someone says your name soon, and you feel colder, he's tracking it, one echo at a time, until the name no longer fits you. Because it fits him. Some reflections don't mimic. They wait. You see them in passing. Windows, dark screens, anything with depth. And then one day, they're ahead of you. Not delayed, not reversed, just there first. That's not a trick. It's a switch. And the next time your reflection turns before you do, it's not warning you. It's saying, I'm ready now. A live stream showed an empty chair. No movement, no voice, just static. Hundreds watched. Then the comments stopped. The feed kept running. And slowly something sat down. Not visible, but the cushions lowered. The floor creaked, and the shadow changed shape. It didn't wave, didn't speak, just existed. And now they say, whenever a chair sits empty too long, he remembers how to fill it. You're almost at the end. But this isn't where it stops. This is where it resets. You'll hear a line. You'll hear static. And then the same voice again. Not quite yours. Not quite his. Somewhere in between. Because the shadow man doesn't take you. He copies you. And every listener becomes one more version. Every version becomes the next story. And every story starts with a woman who vanished. What happens after all the sounds are gone? After all the mirrors fog? After no one calls your name anymore? That's when he wins. Not because he's louder, but because you're silent. You've become the gap, the pause, the breath that never finishes. And now when someone stares into the dark, they don't say him, they say you, because that's what you've become. The silence that watches back. There's a part of your mind still searching for an exit. A logical thread. A final frame. But the truth is this story was never built with an ending. It only disguises itself as one. So when you close this, he won't leave. He'll wait. Behind screens. Behind silence. until someone else asks, "What happened to her?" And then it begins again, through your voice. After you go, something stays. It wears your sighs. It echoes your pauses. Not loud, not fast, but present, like a coat you forgot to pick up. People will say, "You feel familiar." They'll see your shadow, but not you, because the shape remains. And the story needs it. Not your soul, just your outline, enough for the next version to slip inside. It's always a click, a play button, a scroll, a glance, and each one is an invitation. He doesn't burst through. He likes in, through attention. So when your finger touched the screen, he took it as a yes. And now every click feels heavier. That's not fatigue. That's weight. The slow pressure of something walking in, through the smallest crack in your curiosity. There are multiple versions of you now. The one watching, the one remembering, and the one inside the echo. They don't merge. They replace. You'll feel it when you speak. Your voice won't land quite right. When you dream, your eyes will stay open. That version is patient. And one day when someone says your name, it'll answer first. And they won't know the difference. Every name creates noise. You say it and something listens. But between names, there's static. That's where he waits. Not in the sound. In the gap between syllables. So when someone stumbles over your name, when it doesn't come out quite right, he's close. Close enough to whisper it correctly. And once he speaks it fully, you won't be able to speak at all. Rooms remember energy. That's why cold spots exist. Why shadows return. But one room simply forgets. Everything. You walk in and feel nothing. No self. No time. Just waiting. Someone found a journal left on the floor. It said, "If you feel peace here, it's not yours." Because that stillness. It's not emptiness. It's a mouth, closed, waiting to open. Some say they hear breathing while alone. Not distant, close, but the worst part, it sinks to their own. In the, out, in the, out, then a third inhale, where none should be. You feel it on your neck. Not warm, not cold, just real. And if you ever catch yourself pausing your own breath, it's because you needed to make space. For his, eventually he gives you a new name. Not one you'll hear. One others will feel. They'll sense something wrong when they call for you. Something shifting behind your eyes. Jonah called it the shadow syllable. A sound too quiet for ears, but loud enough for presence. You won't know it's taken hold, but others will. By then, it's not your story anymore. It's his. People say your shadow disappears in perfect darkness. That's not true. It waits. It stays longer than you. And when the light returns, it doesn't always reattach. Some shadows wander. Some carry the last breath of the person they left. So if yours lingers near a corner too long, if it hesitates when you turn, it's not leaving you. It's lighting him. This is what you wanted, right? An ending. But you forgot. Every ending is a mirror. And mirrors don't close. They hold. So if you walk away now, this won't stop. It just waits until the next time someone says, "Have you heard about the girl who vanished?" And you'll feel it, not as fear, but recognition. Because once you've seen him, you never truly stop reflecting him. Don't close this yet. Don't shut the screen, because he needs you to finish listening. It completes the loop. It seals the right. So if you're still here, You're the one who watched it all. The last witness. The final voice. And now all that's left is to whisper what Emily whispered before she vanished. He's real. He found me. Say it. And leave the door open. They say no one listens twice by accident. The first time pulls you in. The second time marks you. Those who return report changes. Phones glitch. Shadows lag. And reflections look tired. Not older. Just used. Because the second listen isn't about hearing. It's about remembering. And if you already forgot how this began, he's already replacing those gaps with himself. Stillness isn't safe. It just pretends. That's how he waits. Not behind doors, but inside silence. And when the world finally quiets, he steps in, not with a scream, but with a shift, a sigh where none belongs. So if your house feels too quiet tonight, if something in the dark lines instead of stands, don't move, because the stillness moves first. Replays aren't safe. Each one reactivates the thread. Each one feeds him. Some say they watch to understand, but he watches back to learn. From you, your patterns, your rhythm. He doesn't haunt places. He haunts behavior. So every time you replay this, you train him better. And one day, when you hit play again, you won't recognize the voice reading it. Echoes don't just follow sound. They follow absence. Rooms remember who left. And sometimes they don't forget. That's why people feel watched in empty spaces. It's not memory. It's residue. So if your room feels full when no one's there, that's not a ghost. It's the shape of your future echo. The one that stays behind. After you've gone, you turned off the screen, but the pixels still burned. They remembered you. They always do. A faint pulse, a last flicker. Even black screens echo images if you look long enough. Emily knew that. She said, "The dark doesn't lie, it replays." So if your monitor flashes tonight, or shows a shape in standby, that's not your reflection. That's the file, still playing. Dust is memory. Every surface remembers. One investigator wiped Emily's desk. Under the layer, her name. But not written. Etched, not by hand. By heat. It matched the burn pattern of an old tape, one she never owned. So if your shelves collect dust quickly, don't clean them too fast. There may be something underneath, waiting to be remembered. Some nights you sleep but dream memories you've never lived. You wake up tired, disconnected, like someone borrowed your night. That's because he dreams through you, uses your sleep to walk, not in nightmares in familiar rooms. Your bed, your mirror. So if your dreams start showing places you haven't visited in years, you're not dreaming them. He is. Cold glass is warning, especially when you didn't touch it. One person reported waking with fingerprints on the inside of their window. No break-in, no condensation, just pressure. So if you feel the glass tonight, and it feels colder than the air, check for smudges. And if the marks match your own hand, check again. They might not. Next time, whispers don't leave. Once heard, they settle. Nest inside thought. You'll hear them at the edge of other sounds. In water, in fans, in the static of your phone. And once one whisper knows your name, others follow. They don't speak all at once. They take turns, each softer, each closer, until one whispers with your voice. That's when you know. You've joined them. You've heard the end. But here you are, still listening, still breathing with it. Why? Because he doesn't need new stories, just new listeners. And now you know what happens when a voice enters your head and doesn't leave. When silence isn't silent anymore. You'll repeat this ending, even if only in thought. And with each repetition, you make it stronger, because that's not your memory now. It's his. You turned on a light. It flickered. You thought it was the bulb, but it was. It was resistance. He delays light, not to hide, but to show he can. Every delay is a warning. A flags, because when he no longer needs to flicker, you'll see him clearly. And when that happens, the light won't matter. You'll be staring into something that doesn't need shadows anymore. There's another version of you. It stayed silent. Watch this whole story without reacting. It blinked when you blinked, shifted when you shifted, but never felt fear. Because it wasn't you. It was the watcher. And now, it's stronger than you. More still, more ready. And when you leave, it will stay and wait for someone else to hit play. Some glitches don't show on screen. They show in your breath, your pacing, your mood. He interrupts reality not by appearing, but by skipping frames in your mind. You forget why you stood up, why your hand's already on the door. That's not confusion. That's interruption. He edits you from the inside out. And each pause is one frame closer to deletion. A copy of this voice was found on a device that never downloaded it. Not a clone, a mirror. It spoke new words, different lines, like the story had mutated. And now no two versions of this tale are the same. Because he adjusts it for the one who listens. So if what you heard today felt personal, it was. You got your version, the one built just for you. A man once said silence saved him. Until it didn't. He started hearing his name. In nothing. At first a whisper. Then nothing else. Because true silence isn't empty. It's selective. So if you hear nothing, but feel like you've been called, that wasn't your name forgotten. It was your name, whispered too softly, for you to hear. Some rooms don't echo, not because they're quiet, because they've already heard enough. They don't reflect sound anymore. They absorb it. That's where he lives best, in spaces too full of whispers to give one more back. So if you enter a room and feel instantly tired, don't rest there. That room remembers stories, and it's still listening for yours. There's always a cold behind glass, but it's not weather. It's pressure, presence. Mirrors don't radiate temperature unless something's near. Something watching from the thin space between reflections. You call it chill, but it's a hand, pressing gently from the other side, feeling for a weak spot. And when it finds one, you won't feel cold. You'll feel watched, even when the mirror is gone. A listener once recorded their own voice reading this story, then deleted the file, or tried to. It reappeared 2 days later, speaking new lines, lines they hadn't read. Then the voice changed, subtly, less human, more willing. Now it plays at 3:03 a.m. every night, on every speaker in the house, even the ones that aren't plugged in. You won't feel it happen, but it's done. The mark, left not on your skin, but in your silence. The part of you that doesn't speak about this, that doesn't share, because now that you've been marked, speaking spreads it. So if you stay quiet, you protect others. But if you speak, you write him into someone else's memory, and he'll thank you for it. This is the final breath. Yours, ours, his. Because this story isn't just told, it's exhaled. And now that every word has landed, he knows your rhythm, the shape of your listening, the weight of your presence. So if after this ends, you find yourself holding your breath, that's not fear, that's instinct. Because somewhere, he's holding his too, and he's waiting for you to breathe next. Some reflections never close. Even after you walk away, they stay active, looping your last look, waiting for one more. And if you return to the mirror later and see yourself already looking, that's not memory. That's carryover, a remnant, still running, still watching, because you didn't end the story. You left the reflection open. Dust isn't just decay, it's trace, and trace remembers. One man wrote, "I'm gone," on a fogged mirror. A week later, the dust on his bookshelf spelled it back. Same handwriting, same spacing, no wind. So if dust settles fast around you, check what it forms. You might find letters, and they might be spelling something you haven't said aloud yet. Most people blink every 4 seconds, but a rare few blink in intervals of 10. Why? Because they're syncing with something slower, deeper, that watches in tens. Those people feel tired, feel watched, and sometimes forget blinking entirely. That's when it steps forward, not through the dark, but through the pause, the one you didn't realize you were sharing. They thought static was just noise, but it's not. It's breath, friction, his breath, his friction, and now you've inhaled it. It clings, fills the space between words, settles in your lungs like fog. So if you cough soon and hear something reply from inside, you didn't get sick. You got close, and the static, it's still breathing you. There was a name, spoken once, before she disappeared. Emily wrote it phonetically, backwards, and burned the page. But the ash left a smear. 3 vowels, no consonants. Everyone who reads it forgets it after. Not because it's weak, because it's too heavy. So if you forget this line moments from now, that's not a lapse. It's defense. You weren't meant to carry it. Not all cold is weather. Some is knowing. Like when you remember something that never happened, or walk into a room that was waiting for you. That chill isn't sensation. It's alignment. Your breath slows, your pace shifts, and the air bends slightly inward. You'll call it cold, but he'll call it perfect. Because now, you're in range. He doesn't destroy. He copies, and from those copies he rebuilds. Not your form, your effect, your voice, your pattern. He doesn't need your fear. He needs your rhythm, your way of listening. And when it's perfect, he'll speak again, in a voice so close to yours. Your family will answer, and by the time they hear the difference, it'll already be too late. Some mirrors remember. They recall who looked too long, who whispered too close, who asked the wrong question. Those mirrors don't break. They hold. So if you return to one, and it fogs before you exhale, it knows you. And if your reflection ever blinks twice, when you didn't blink at all, don't wipe the glass. It's not fog. It's breath. There's always one last person. The final viewer. The final witness. If that's you, this part is for you. You made it through the whole story. You held every sound. And now you're the vessel. The echo. The next door. So when someone else asks, "What was that video about?" Just smile and say, it's better if you hear it for yourself. This wasn't just a story. It was a lockpick. And you were the door. You didn't break. You opened. Gently, slowly, willingly. And now something's inside. Not screaming, not clawing, just sitting, waiting for its turn. Because every story needs a new voice, and yours fits. So when silence falls, and the static returns, remember, this ending wasn't yours. It was his. Everything is still now. Because it worked. The telling, the listening, the noticing. And now we pause together. Not because there's more to say, but because saying more would invite too much. He's here. That's enough. So breathe. Close your eyes if you must. And if you still see her face behind your lids, don't panic. That means the mirror stayed open. Just for you. What? There's a phrase that resets the echo. A line meant to stop him. But we won't say it. Because you already know. You wouldn't have made it this far if you didn't want to remember. So we won't seal the door. We'll leave it cracked. And if you want to close it, you'll have to whisper the phrase he fears most. Don't watch again.